Today, we're here, as I said, to talk about travel insurance. So we're pretty excited today. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and we've got three representatives. Our first presenter today, Melanie Lessard from Allianz, and she's the business development manager looking after some of the key national accounts in Quebec, as well as the rest of Canada. She has travel experience with 15 years plus with Allianz Gold Assist. So if you need any answers to any questions about travel insurance, it sounds like Melanie has the answers. Right, Melanie?
Thank you, Don. And I just want to confirm you really seeing my screen correctly.
It looks
Travel
beautiful, yeah.
protection. Perfect. All
Okay.
right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today, taking the time to come to this travel insurance webinar. Very timely because this is the snowbird season that's kicking in. A lot of retired or pre-retired people are planning their travel. Um, they want a warmer destination. Let's just say that for the winter. So great timing for this presentation. So today I just want to introduce you as well to your business level manager. We are a team looking after the IDC account. So we have Jordan, mainly myself looking after the Quebec region and the Sun Life group of people, and Jasmine, who's looking after the Western provinces. So here are our email and phone number. If you want to reach out, you can take a screenshot, a photo of the screen, or you can request our contact information at the end, and we'll share it with you. Yeah, so basically, oh, one point, and I'll mention it right at the beginning before I forget. I know for your different market that in order to get an access or a code or be able to access their portal, their system, you need to have an actual sale, an actual quote. With us, you don't have to. So you'll understand why. I really strongly advise you, if you already have an access to our portal, already have a code with Allianz, strongly advise you to request it. So when you do have a code, you're super ready. Who's Allianz? Who's Allianz Global Assistance? Well, big company. Allianz is present worldwide. This is one of the top, or I think the best insurance or the top insurance company in the world, the most recognized one. And Allianz has division. One of the division is Allianz Partners, who look after or is part, that part of Allianz Partner is looking after the travel insurance bits. Here in Canada, we're called Allianz Global Assistance. We are part of Allianz Partners. And just to understand how it works here in our business unit, we are 45% owned by the cooperators as well. So it's a kind of a unique setup, even globally, for Allianz to have like Allianz partner and have cooperators as well. In Canada, we're located in Cambridge. Our head office is there in Ontario. And what I want to mention, and to have a big picture, a global picture, so to speak, is what it looks like, our worldwide presence. This is, and I tell you, this is a great advantage for your customer being there worldwide, because sometimes your client's emergency can turn very complex because of the health system they are in. So depending where they travel, the health system is different than what we see here in Canada. And we are there to help manage, obviously, but having that global presence in complex situation, we can leverage one of those business units. So we have 40 plus global offices. We do business in 75 countries, so we have really a worldwide presence. So what is the opportunity for you here? So what do we have for you to help maybe, well, it's going to help your customer, obviously, but what's in it for you, basically? So we know Canadians are eager to travel. They do plan travel. We travel. The Canadians are traveling all the time. And you know what? 89% of travelers intend to be covered by travel insurance for their next trip. 89% is quite a lot. And you are so well positioned to advise your client to make sure that they have the appropriate coverage. They trust you, right? That's why they do business with you. And it's also, well, as you know, the importance is there's an impact in their life. You can have a travel insurance. It could be a huge financial impact. So what we do, we have simple product. So the opportunity for you, our product suites, straightforward. We have different kind of products for the different kind of travelers. And we simplified our wording, our offering. So it's easier for you to promote an offer, and it's easier for you to sell because you don't have to explain it for hours. It's easy for a customer to understand. So we try to simplify everything. You'll see a bit later. And oh, I wanted to point out that I'm going to show you also, and I'm pretty proud of it. It's a huge deal. I find, especially for advisors, for you, you sell travel insurance as like a side gig, basically from your main market, obviously. So you want it to not take up all of your time. So if your client is 65 and over, there's a medical questionnaire. So if you have snowbirds, there's a medical questionnaire. Ours is the shortest, and I'll show that to you. So we worked on making it easier for you and the customer. But why is it important? Government health insur government health insurance doesn't cover much outside of the province, outside of Canada. Outside of the province, yeah, like the province in Canada, there's a interesting coverage. Obviously, there's a sharing thing here, but there are things that are not covered. So, for example, your client needs to be medevaced. The government health insurance will not cover it in another province, as an example. So there are simple things that you can make sure your client is covered. I'll talk about like a product that will suit them well. Financial risk. Again, your client chose you as a trusted advisor for their finances, right? You don't want them to go like in the US for a few days, forget like not having coverage and rack up a $500,000 bill. It happens. Like we see it. And then having to call you to try to work out their investment, pull out that money from their investment. You don't want that for your customer. So it's part of your financial guidance, really. I know you talk about their budget when traveling. Are they going to travel? It's part of the conversation already. So for you, it's just 2 seconds saying we got to make sure that you have proper coverage when you travel, and you can right there and then say, I can help you with a quote on an annual plan. And it provides peace of mind. Maybe you deal with super rich client that they're not fine, but they have the money to recover. But on top of the money, there's the peace of mind, there's the expertise to navigate complex situation, navigate different health system. This is where we come in also. We help the customer, and if there's an urgent or like a crazy situation, I want to say, we're here to help. We are the expert, we know. And it's the thing, you saw all the business unit in Canada. Our business unit's expertise is the medical portion. Again, what's in it as brokers, advisors, I don't know how you like to call yourself, but there's also create secure clients. You will end up talking you end up talking, why not have everything in with you? Because if you don't offer it, we don't sell it, they're gonna go elsewhere to get the travel insurance. Why not have it with you? Why not sell it yourself? It's gonna boost your revenue, obviously. So what you see here on the screen is the average policy value sold by the broker channel. So the average premium. Your advisor commission with IDC is 30%. So what it means, it's $83. It takes 10 minutes to sell a policy, and boom, you've earned $83. Also, and I'll mention it in the suite, we have two different kind of annual plan for two different kind of traveler. We have the standard multi-trip, but we also launched recently the annual medical flex plan, where it's a bit different. The client is buying a bank of days, so you can make it annual. And having annual plans, what we have put in place is auto renewal, a bit like your home and auto renews. We have that in place for your customer and for you. So the customer doesn't have to worry, is my policy expiring? Is it time to buy a new annual plan? Don't have to worry about that. You have compounding revenue year over year. So that policy that you sold here on average year one, you got $83. It took 10 minutes. Next year, it's going to take 0 minutes, and you're still going to receive that $83 at the renewal. So that compounding revenue, while it's a bit hands off, it makes it lots easier for you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Go ahead, join the
Yeah, can you
webinar.
hear me?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, good. Because there's something showing on my screen that I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no.
Thank you. So yeah, so basically for you, a lot of opportunity. Another opportunity for you, all of you, if you want, you can request once, well, all of you, once you have an access with Allianz, a
No.
code with Allianz, what I call a B2C link.
See, check
Hello?
the audio on your audio is a bit intermittent,
Hmm.
but go ahead, try it now.
Yes, can you hear me well now?
Yeah, it's good. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So yeah, what I was saying is, um, what you can choose as well is having what I call a B2C link, a generic B2C link that's assigned to you. So you got to make sure to have the quote. Request it today if you don't have it already. That B2C link, you can email me to request it, will allow you to maybe promote it. Maybe you want to do an email blast to your client, says, hey, for travel insurance, make sure to have a policy, here's a link, or you put it in your email signature, or maybe you want to do a social media campaign, or you try to find ideas to do a new post on social media. It could be about travel insurance. Request that link, and any sales from that link, you're going to get the 25% commission. So it is a generic link, so we are technically the distributor, but you get kind of the reference, but the reference is 25%. So there's many ways to generate opportunities for travel insurance. So what I was talking briefly about our solution, but what we have for, let's say, Canadian traveling, like, so we have the emergency medical. Our plan covers up to 10 million. We don't have an age limit. So what that means is your client is 87, 97. Let's say the client is 97 and want to travel a few weeks. Yes, you have a solution for that customer. Our medical questionnaire only starts at 65 years old. If snowbirds, I said it was timely. The snowbirds are traveling for a long time. So the average premium for snowbirds, I've looked at it just before, is over $700. Snowbird is traveling for a long period of time. And what they're choosing often is having a deductible option added. For only $500 deductible, they're getting a 25% savings. So it is worth it for your customer that's basically a bit older and travel for a long period of time. The emergency medical offering is offered in single trip. So one trip, again, your snowbird that's traveling for 6 months is offered in multi-trip. The standard multi-trip, well, you can travel as many times as you like for X amount of days. And our new annual medical flex plan, where you can buy like a bank of days that you can use however you want during the year. We do have the comprehensive suite. So what it means with comprehensive, you have the medical, like the 10 million, but on top of it, you have coverage for trip delays, bags, you have coverage for trip cancellation and interruption. So that's what within the comprehensive. There are three solutions: the single trip, the multi-trip, the standard multi-trip, and the youth plan. Youth plan is for your client that are under 29 years old, under 30, sorry. And we have a solution for inbound travelers. So visitors to Canada, maybe you are working within a community that has a lot of people, maybe super visa coming in, like your client are bringing their client for a period of time and they're applying for super visa. The plan for it will be the visitors to Canada. We do have different some insured. We have 4. No medical questionnaire. We cover up to 89 years old. And no medical questionnaire, also what it means is, I see the typo right now, is it's just we're working with a stability period. So the pre-existing conditions are covered on a visitors to Canada is just up to 60, like 59 years old. The stability period is 90 days, and 60 to 89 stability period is 180 days. So that would be the main difference in terms of age, but pre-existings are covered. We do have a solution for the international student to Canada. So if you want to build, I see a lot of advisors building their portfolio with the inbound travelers. So it's people that want to move in here, either through being an international student or maybe work here. They need coverage. You would provide them the visitors to Canada or the international student, and then you will stay in touch with them. And once they establish themselves, then you can promote your other markets. So I see a lot of advisors using those plans to grow their portfolio, their overall portfolio. Then, yeah, so flex plan. I just wanted to explain the flex plan a little bit here. The annual medical flex plan and how that works. It's basically, again, the bank of days and it's rated similar to a single trip for the same duration. So let's just say it's 26 days, the bank of days that the client is picking. If you compare it to a single trip of 26 days, you'll find that the premium is very similar, either a little bit higher or a bit lower, but very, very, very similar. That works is you have a lot of people, ahead of time, they have, like, let's say X amount of weeks of vacation, maybe 4 weeks. And of those 4 weeks, they're going to take 2 weeks vacation. These people were just going to call you for a single trip. They would say, I want one single trip policy. But they forget that they do take side trips outside of that big trip. They forget that they are going to decide last minute they're going to go shopping in the US, especially if they live close to the border. Or like they're going to decide last minute to go long weekend, I don't know, in Boston. And they drive there. They don't think about it. They don't remember. They don't think about it. It's not that they don't think it's important. Remember, 89% of people think it's important to have coverage, but they don't think about it. And I want to say, me first. Like a few years ago, with my friend, we love hiking, beautiful this time of year, the colors. We decided to just go, hey, why don't you go hike in the Adirondack, like upstate New York? It's less than 2-hour drive. Why not? Let's go. And off we went. I work with travel insurance. I've worked with travel insurance for over 15 years now. And I didn't even think of travel insurance at that time because it's so last minute and it's just today you forget about it. But again, it was hiking. I could have hurt myself. My friend could have hurt themselves. So that's how we came to think of having a plan for these people who are traveling like just that one big trip and do a bit of side trip that they forget that they need insurance too. We come up with the annual medical flex plan. Yes, buy a bank of days. Let's say you travel for 2 weeks, which is 14 days, and this is what you intend. Maybe you want to like 5 days, 19 days for those little side trips. Yeah, I'm just going to go shopping a few times a year. It's true in the US. Bring it up in the conversation. Long weekend Vegas. Why not? It's going to be covered in here in that flex fund and that bank of days. And because it's an annual plan, like the standard multi-trip, we cover unlimited in Canada. So the travel within Canada is unlimited when maintaining government health insurance plan. So what we mean by unlimited is basically we're not going to take any days out of the bank of days or out of the trip day limit here for the standard. So beautiful in my example again, I spoke earlier, if your client needs medical evacuation, there are the different province. This is something that's not covered. Again, we are also the expert to help coordinate a few things as well for the return to the home province. Okay, and those plans, both annual plans can be auto-renewed. Under 64 years old, you will see that when you issue policy, you have the possibility to activate the auto-renewal. You should do that again. The client will receive a communication from us. I wanted to also communication from us at the renewal, just to tell them we're going to charge this amount on your card for same condition. Wanted to show you our medical questionnaire. I was mentioning that we made it a lot simpler for you advisors. I know your E&O is important, and some advisors were a bit scared to ask questions on the questionnaire. These are the three main questions. So if I can, well, you have to read it as is, but basically we want to know if the past 6 months the client has taken medication. When the client says yes, then it opens up. I want to know what it was for. What is that medication for? Is it for blood pressure? Is it for stroke or mini stroke? Is it for a heart condition? Is it for digestive, lung, diabetes? That's it. Yes or no. Your client, when is eligible, they can answer yes to every single question, will have a premium at the end. Second question is about cancer. The third one about tobacco use. Easy peasy, easy to understand. You don't need to explain it and look at too many definitions to explain it to your customer. So don't worry about our medical questionnaire. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say at all. And the beauty, what we have for here at Allianz is you have a dedicated team called agency services. So you have a support team. So when you have a code and you have questions about a product or the system, we have a dedicated team. Their number is showing at every screen on our Advisor Max portal. But beyond that, so what are you selling? What really you're selling is a customer experience. You're selling your client a claim, our claim department. And a lot of things can happen. So here's an example of a real life case that happened in 2019. And why I chose this one is you can see how we can leverage the full scope of Allianz Global Assistance globally. So it's a lady that fell on a cruise and hit her head pretty hard, and she needed to go to the nearest port to be treated. Nearest port was Acapulco. Went to the hospital, was hospitalized. That's when we were notified. We want to assess the health based because she hit her head, needed like different specialized care. What we were trying to do is to have her go to a different facility in Mexico City with that's more specialized for her needs to be cared for. What happened, however, is the hospital in Acapulco was just asking for money, more money, and more money. And when our medevac team, basically, it was a helicopter or air ambulance coming over, pick her up, they didn't let her, like they didn't want, they refused access to the patient completely. So that's when we had to leverage our business unit in Mexico to help and assist. So what they did, that business unit, they sent one of their lawyer with the police to go to the hospital to kind of force their way to the patient. We had to bring her, after all, to the other Acapulco facility to stabilize her even more because they were not taking care of her at all, and her health had declined severely. But eventually, she was brought to Mexico City, that big center, specialized center. We have nurses and doctor on site, med ops, med operation team. The chief of that team traveled to Mexico to make sure everything was all right and traveled back with the patient. So she recovered, thankful, but it was a close call. Thankfully, we could leverage our business unit in Mexico City. So we do, however, ask customer to call us. So when you talk to your customer, you want us to call us ahead of time so we can triage. So maybe a virtual visit is an option, but also because we evaluate hospital across like in the world, we are able to tell the customer to not go to a place and go to the other one instead. Mexico is a popular destination. For example, in Cancun, there are 4 hospitals. 2 of them you don't really want your customer to go to. So they don't know which one. And the worst person to ask is the hotel staff. So this is the overall Allianz advantage. I see I'm at time, but I'm pretty time with a thank you here, the thank you
I'm gonna
slide.
I'm just going to jump in for a second, Mel, just because we have a couple of questions that I want to get answered before you disappear. Um, Real quickly, on the commission rate, is it a flat rate or is it based on age?
It's a flat rate, but it's a good question because you're right. For visitors to Canada with UIDC, it's 35% instead of 30, but that's the only one.
Okay.
But yeah, flat rate, the age doesn't vary.
And is the $500 deductible in US dollars or Canadian dollars?
Canadian dollars.
Okay. And to Canada inbound, it
Mhm.
says 200K, 100K, and then 500K is the next level. Any thoughts about a 200, 300, or 400 in intermediary numbers?
We had thought about it, but we used to have it also, but we didn't have a lot of sales. So the idea 100K is for super visa. That's the mandatory. So a lot of people go for that one
Okay.
because we do cover outside of Canada for visitors to Canada. Some are going to the US. 500K,
Yeah,
we vai se go. Yeah,
if
yeah.
you've been in a U.S. hospital, that's what the starting level. Melanie, that was great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So Nancy Medeiros joined TuGo in 2011 as the regional account manager for Ontario, and she brought her expertise from the leadership roles in large financial services organizations where she helped train, motivate financial advisors.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. So my name is Nancy Medeiros, and I'm a business development manager with TuGo. And what I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about TuGo and the IA travel insurance program, which IDC agents have access to. So I'll talk a little bit about TuGo to give you some background information, talk about why you should sell IA travel insurance, different available products, top 3 IA travel insurance standouts. So areas where I think the IA travel insurance program fits in really well. We can go over the medical questionnaires briefly, and then if there's time, we can do a quick Q&A. So a little bit about TuGo. We are one of Canada's leading travel insurance providers. We insure over 1 million trips each year. We started in British Columbia in 1964, so we just celebrated our 60th anniversary this year, and travel insurance is all we do. Our head office is in British Columbia, and we also have an office in Montreal. Our licensed customer service team speaks 29 different languages, and we have emergency assistance team, of course, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help coordinate care for travelers wherever they may be. So why should you sell IA travel insurance? Well, eligibility is pretty straightforward. We have no age limit. We have no medical questionnaire for anyone under the age of 60. And we also have a simplified medical questionnaire for those who are over 60. It's only 5 questions for Canadian travelers and 3 questions for visitors to Canada. We also have competitive pre-existing condition coverage for all ages. And my understanding is we have the lowest stability for Canadian travelers under the age of 60. It's only 7-day stability requirement for trips of 35 days or less. Okay. And we also have protection against non-disclosures and errors on the medical questionnaire. So what does that mean? That means that we will not deny a claim simply because there was a mistake made on the medical questionnaire. Okay. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the coming slides. So what different products are available with the IA travel insurance program? So of course we have single trip emergency medical, and we've got 3 different options with single trip. We've got within Canada, so that's for Canadian travelers who are traveling to other provinces outside of their home province, but staying within Canada, and that's one premium. Then we have worldwide excluding USA, which is for people who are going outside of Canada, but not to the US. Now, the excluding USA option does provide up to 48 hours coverage for flight layovers or stopovers in the US, or up to 5 days transit by land through the US. So if you are buying an excluding USA policy, you would still be covered for some travel through the US, provided that that's not your final destination, of course. And then we've got the worldwide option, which includes the US. So that's just to give 3 different premium options depending on where the traveler is going to. Okay. And of course, we also have multi-trip annual emergency medical plans. We have 2 options for our multi-trip plans. We have within Canada, and we also have worldwide. Okay. Now, our worldwide multi-trip annual plan provides unlimited travel coverage within Canada for free. So you would not be limited to the number of days that you purchased. Now, our multi-trip plans, we have 2 days, 5, 10, 15, 20, 35, and 60-day trip length options. And we do have extensions that can be added to the multi-trip plan for any trips that may be longer than the days that they purchased. Now, the number of days that they purchase is not going to be the number of days that they're going to be gone throughout the whole year. It's going to be the number of days that each trip is going to be. So if somebody buys a 5-day multi-trip plan, that means they can travel 5 days at a time for as many times as they want within a 1-year period. If they buy a within Canada plan, then they have to come back into their home province in order to reset the time. If they got the worldwide multi-trip annual plan, they would only have to step into Canada to reset their trip length, because we provide unlimited travel coverage within Canada if they buy a worldwide multi-trip plan. So they're not limited to the days that they purchase. So if somebody bought a 5-day worldwide multi-trip annual plan, we would only start counting those days once they leave Canada. So they could travel throughout all of the different provinces in Canada for as many days as they want. They're not limited to that 5 days. But once they leave Canada, that's when the clock starts. And to stop the clock, they would simply just have to come back into Canada, not necessarily their home province. Okay. The only time they would have to come back in their home province to reset the time is if they bought a within Canada worldwide multi-trip plan, or sorry, a within Canada multi-trip plan. Okay. Other products available besides medical, we have trip cancellation and interruption, which can be purchased as a standalone or with a medical plan. We also have trip interruption only, which can also be purchased as a standalone or with a medical plan. We have visitors to Canada coverage. We have trip cancellation and interruption for visitors to Canada, provided that all or part of the trip will be in Canada. We also have student medical for international students, both students who are coming into Canada to study and students who are going abroad to study. And we also have certain package plans available, non-medical package, all-inclusive package, that just bundles a bunch of different types of products together. Okay. Some optional coverages also available: baggage insurance, which can only be sold with a medical plan or a trip cancellation interruption plan. Rental car, same thing, can only be sold with a medical plan or a trip cancellation interruption plan. We have accidental death and dismemberment, and we also have the optional sports and activities rider to cover those quote unquote high risk activities that most of the travel insurance competitors do not cover. And another bonus for IA, unstable pre-existing condition rider for both Canadian travelers and visitors to Canada. So if a person doesn't meet the stability requirement based on their age, and for IA, anyone under the age of 60, if they're traveling for 35 days or less, it's a 7-day stability. If they're traveling for more than 35 days, then it's a 90-day stability. And anyone 60 or older has a 180-day stability requirement. Now, this optional unstable pre-existing condition rider can be added to a medical plan if the traveler does not meet the stability requirement. What it does is it shortens the stability requirement to 7 days. So provided they meet a 7-day stability requirement, if they added this optional unstable pre-existing condition rider, then they would have coverage up to $300,000 for that quote unquote unstable condition. Okay. So top 3 areas where IA travel insurance stands out. Anyone under the age of 60 for trips of 35 days or less. Why? Because of the low stability requirement, only 7 days. So it's really a no-brainer. Why is this important? Because even though there isn't a medical questionnaire at that age, travelers may still have pre-existing medical conditions. And something as simple as a change in medication can affect stability and cause a claim denial. So it's really important that people are aware that even though there isn't a medical questionnaire, if they have existing medical conditions, they do still need to meet a stability requirement. And most of the competitors is a 90-day stability requirement for anyone under the age of 60. So we've got a little perk there for you guys where it would only be 7 days if they're traveling for 35 days or less. So it's really a no-brainer to just put anyone under the age of 60 with the IA travel insurance program simply because of that fact. Okay. Anyone with a complicated medical history and or multiple medications. Why is it a good idea to go with IA for something like that? Well, first of all, our medical questionnaires are relatively simple. They're not pages long. There's only, as I mentioned at the beginning, 5 questions for Canadian travelers and 3 questions for visitors to Canada. And also because of our misrepresentation clause, which I also mentioned, means a claim will not be denied simply because there was an error on the medical questionnaire. So what would happen is if there is a claim, that's when the insurance provider is going to find out that there was an error on the medical questionnaire, because we'll send a copy of that questionnaire to their family doctor and we'll review medical records to confirm stability and all that type of information. Now, at that point, if we find out that there's an error on the medical questionnaire, rather than voiding the coverage and denying the claim, what we do is we apply an additional $15,000 US deductible that the traveler would have to pay in addition to any other deductible they may have chosen, but we will cover anything over and above that amount. Okay. Now, if it was a visitor to Canada, it would be a $15,000 Canadian deductible that would be applied if they did not answer the medical questionnaire correctly. Okay. Anyone who was recently diagnosed with a new condition or had a recent change in their medical condition. Again, IA is a great option because of that unstable pre-existing condition rider that I just discussed, which shortens the stability to 7 days and provides coverage up to $300,000 for that particular condition. And why is this important? Of course, a shorter stability period means that there will be more coverage for more conditions. Okay. And last, anyone who is a thrill seeker. Now, TuGo has a sports and activities rider that can be added to a medical plan that will provide coverage for when someone is participating in what we consider to be a high-risk sport or activity. Now, we've really only included sports and activities that we feel represent a significant risk, and we've tried to remove things that a typical person would do on their vacation. So you'll see here is the list, and it works on a surcharge basis. We're about 50-50 here with the limit. Half of them are up to the policy limit of $10 million. Some of them are max limit of $500,000, and those are the more higher risk activities. And it basically works on a surcharge. There's a percentage surcharge that's charged to the base premium. Then there's a minimum rate and a maximum rate for all but 2 activities. Okay. Medical questionnaires. So I'm going to start with the out-of-country medical questionnaire. So this is for Canadians who are traveling outside of Canada. So if you are selling a within Canada policy and the person is 60 or older, don't get scared if a medical questionnaire doesn't pop up, because we don't apply the medical questionnaire to Canadians who are traveling within Canada. So regardless of age, there will not be a medical questionnaire if you are selling a within Canada plan, okay? So this questionnaire will pop up if you are selling either a worldwide or a worldwide excluding USA plan, okay? So first question is, have you experienced any of the following? Choose the one most recent event. And then we ask for heart attack, stroke, or TIA or mini stroke, less than a year ago, 1 to 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, or none. And then second bullet, arterial bypass, angioplasty, and or the placement of a stent for a cardiovascular condition. Again, less than a year ago, 1 to 5 years ago, more than 5, or none. So once you've answered those two, second question, do you currently have hypertension, also known as high blood pressure? No. Yes, with no alteration to your medication in the last 6 months, or yes, with an alteration to your medication in the last 6 months. Okay. Question 3, have you had any of these conditions in the last 12 months? But it says choose a condition if in the specified time frame you had the condition, whether or not you received any medical care for it. This includes conditions controlled or managed by medication, a medical device, diet, or exercise. So to give you an example, most of these conditions, once you have for your life, right? So if you have coronary artery disease, you have coronary artery disease for your lifetime. So we're not asking if you were diagnosed with any of these things in the last 12 months. We're asking if you had them in the last 12 months. So even if the person was diagnosed with coronary artery disease 10 years ago, they still have to count it here because they would still have had it in the last 12 months. Now, on the flip side, pneumonia, for example, is something that you can have and then it goes away. So if someone had pneumonia 2 years ago, then they wouldn't need to count it here because we were only asking if they had it in the last 12 months. So if they didn't have it in the last 12 months, they wouldn't need to count it. Okay, so difference between when you were diagnosed with it and whether or not you have it. So we are asking if they had these conditions in the last 12 months, not whether or not they were diagnosed with them in the last 12 months. Okay, so you would go through each section here and you could check off multiple conditions if they have multiple conditions. And then the fourth question, very similar to the third, have you had any of these conditions in the last 12 months? And choose a condition if you had it within that time frame. And here are all the options there. And then the last question is, in the last 12 months, have you smoked any tobacco products or vaped any nicotine products, including e-cigarettes? Once you answer all of those, the system will generate the quote for you. Now, keep in mind that the medical questionnaire does not determine coverage. It's only to determine the rate that they're going to pay. Coverage for pre-existing conditions is dependent on stability. Okay. Now, for visitors to Canada, it's an even shorter medical questionnaire. Question number 1, have you experienced any of the following in the last 12 months? Heart attack, a stroke or TIA or mini stroke, arterial bypass, angioplasty, and or the placement of a stent for a cardiovascular condition, or none. So again, for this one, we're specifically only asking in the last 12 months. And these are medical events, not necessarily medical conditions. So if someone had a heart attack 5 years ago, they don't need to count it here because we're only asking if they had a heart attack in the last 12 months. Okay. Question number 2, have you had any of these conditions in the last 12 months? Very similar to the out of country, choose a condition if you had it within that time frame. And again, you go through all of these, and if they have multiple, you check off multiple. If they have none, you check off none. And then the last one is the smoking question. Again, in the last 12 months, have you smoked any tobacco products or vaped any nicotine products? Okay. Once that's answered, again, the system will generate the quote for you. And again, for visitors to Canada, medical questionnaire does not determine coverage, only determines the rate. Again, coverage is based on the stability, and that would be outlined in the policy wording booklet. Okay. Now, for anyone that is not currently set up with TuGo through IA, this is where you would find your onboarding form. So it's on the IA Advisor Center. And you would look under products, travel insurance, and then useful links onboarding form. You would fill that out. And then there's an email address on the top of the form where you would email that particular onboarding form to, and then they, IA will vet it and then send a list to TuGo. And then we set you up and you'll get an activation email when everything's ready. So if anybody's interested, that's how you would go about onboarding with the IA travel insurance program. Any questions?
Couple of quick questions. Do I need a special license to sell the travel insurance, or would it be under my active license?
So it used in Ontario, you used to have a life license or A&S license. But now Rebo has made some changes. So if you are Rebo licensed, you are now also allowed to sell travel insurance as well.
Okay, so if I'm life licensed, like most of the people on the call, then
Yeah.
I'm good to go. I don't
You're
need a
good to go.
special license. And
Correct.
why do you have, why does the travel agency paid 44% to the travel agency? I guess it's a commission split between the travel agency and.
I can't comment on, why travel agencies get paid what they get paid.
Okay.
My understanding is they make most of their money on insurance, not the trips
Right.
themselves. So
Yeah.
that might be a reason. But that also means that their rates may be a little higher because, you have to compensate paying additional comp with
Right.
premiums, right? So,
So that was another question. It's like, I
and they're
think,
also not licensed. So
yeah,
that's
there's
not
another one.
the best
What's
place to get.
what's the actual relationship between TuGo and IA?
So IA is our underwriter.
Okay.
And we've created a white label program for them. So it's very similar to our generic program, but there's some enhancements added to it.
Now, so that was the next thing. Is there any difference between me buying it direct, selling it through you folks, or selling it through IA, or
Yes.
sometimes there's these snowbird association programs, right?
Yeah.
And they're being underwritten, say, by IA, but it's not on your brand because that's not TuGo product. It's like CAA or somebody
Right.
else. So it's important to look at who the underwriter is on the bottom of that questionnaire to find out if it's bank coverage. It's done underwritten by IA. So for me, I want to get paid, not go through the bank or snowbirds or CAA. And to do that, I underwrite it through you folks directly. So my contract, I set up a travel contract and I want to put it on my website. And they go to my website and buy the product. Then by virtue it went through my website, that it's contracted directly with you and that I get paid and not the affiliate travel agency from CAA or whoever else.
You got it. That's right.
Okay. So how long do they have to be back in Canada before we reset the clock for that out of country coverage?
No time limit. So if they're landing here and they're getting on a plane again the same day to go somewhere else, doesn't matter. Just get them to buy something to show that they were here.
Yep.
And if there's any question, then at least they've got proof that they landed here, which would reset the time.
And they'd have their ticket from landing here, obviously.
Exactly, yeah.
So
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And are the rates different between like these snowbird associations and you directly?
Well, we don't deal directly with like a MetaPack or anything like that. That's their own particular product and whatnot. So everybody's rates are going to be different, right? Because it depends on claims experience. It depends on, demographics, all that type of stuff. So everybody's rates are going to be different. IA has some special rates with our visitors to Canada and our student program. So you guys have some lower rates as compared to our generic partners. So there is a bit of an advantage going through the IA travel insurance program for sure.
So a bigger question that's going to open up a can of worms, probably. I don't know this for sure, but the one thing that we're always worried about today is being compliant and one of the things that's happening is, of course, I can buy it online, I can buy it myself, I can not answer the questions correctly or answer them inappropriately, and then that may nullify my coverage or put some exclusions in there that I inadvertently put in by not answering correctly. So again, I think there's an opportunity here to have a follow-up webinar going through the actual application and the medical questions and say, okay, explain this to me.
Absolutely.
I've never been diagnosed, but I've had it in the last 12 months or whatever the scenario was.
Yeah.
What's the difference between I've got it, but I haven't really had it in the last 12 months? Like that becomes a gray area, firstly. Secondly, it kicks my coverage up to a $15,000 deductible if I answer that question incorrectly.
Correct.
My next question is my E&O coverage, and I guess I'd have to go to my E&O coverage provider to find out, which that sets up Eric for a webinar. But if I'm doing these auxiliary products, because I want to be helpful to my clients, I want to put them on my website. My client goes to the website, he got it on my website, he answers that question incorrectly, and now my deductible that I knew was $5,000 became $15,000, is my E&O coverage going to step in and cover that $10,000 if I've had a client make a mistake by filling that out incorrectly?
Now, I'm not the best person to answer that question
I knew
because
that
I'm
answer.
not a compliance expert, but
Right.
My understanding would be if the person is purchasing on their own and you're not involved in the sales process, that it's entirely on them, but don't take my word for that. I would confirm that with your
and that leads me to getting Eric on here and saying, okay, Eric, let's go through each of my E&O provider and see what exactly that means, because that's a $10,000 hit to my E&O.
Absolutely.
Which only covers me for after 5. So now it's a 5 out of my pocket.
Yeah.
To make that client whole, right? So that's what we'll have to check out, folks. So I know that some of you have been thought of that question or not thought of that question, but that's a question I would have. And the other question I'd have is that I actually have travel insurance, and I bought it because, and one of the phrases I teach all the time is, what you thought to be true wasn't true. When would you want to know? Well, I sure don't want to know it when I'm being diagnosed with something in British Columbia while I live in Ontario. And I think most Canadians think if they have coverage, that they're coverage interprovincially and don't need to worry about travel insurance. Can you explain a little bit about that? Because I know now that's not true. That's why I have other country coverage.
Yeah, that's absolutely
explain that for us.
So, I mean, provinces do have reciprocal billing. So generally speaking, hospitalizations would tend to be covered, but there's still a lot of things that wouldn't be. Prescription meds, ambulance services, if they need air evacuation, all of that stuff would come out of your pocket. And air evacuation is extremely expensive. Even if you're just within Canada. Like I have a gentleman that went to the Yukon to go ice fishing and scared a moose and got attacked by the moose, and he had to be airlifted to a specific area that could handle his injuries, and that was a $48,000 ambulance ride. If he didn't have travel insurance, he would have been stuck because he wasn't from the Yukon. Obviously, he was from another province. So thankfully, he bought his, within Canada coverage, which saved him that $50,000, right? So yeah, there's lots of things that still wouldn't be covered once you leave Ontario or whatever your home province is.
Well, I mean, with the weather patterns that we're having these days, with the problem we recently had in Jasper, you might be visiting a friend in Jasper, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, now I got a $50,000 medical bill that I didn't think I was needing, and I thought I had coverage for my plan. And later to find out
that you don't. Yep.
So that's important, everybody. If you're doing I travel throughout the provinces regularly. So I got multiple trip coverage within a 1-year period, and it covers you for 15 days, 14 or 15 days throughout, right? But so that resetting the clock's important because some people do multiple trips throughout the year, obviously to Florida or, all those things. I'm just going to check to see if there's any other things here. I do not understand that. Well, this is the question. I do not understand the difference between being diagnosed and having the condition in the last 12 months.
Okay, so you are diagnosed with atrial fibrillation in 2019. Okay, so it's more than 12 months ago, but when you're answering the medical questionnaire, you still have atrial fibrillation.
Right.
So you have to check it off.
Right. Okay.
So if you had any of the listed conditions within 12 months of answering that medical questionnaire, you have to check it off. We don't care that you were diagnosed with it 10 years ago. If you still have it within 12 months of answering that medical questionnaire, you have to check it off.
So that leads me back to that medical questionnaire questions and say, okay, like the other one you mentioned was smoker, non-smoker, vape, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What impact does it have, or does it have? I mean, smoker, non-smoker, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, because what I don't know, I don't know. What impact does it have on me answering that questionnaire regarding price?
So every condition has a surcharge attached to it. Exactly. So depending on which conditions you choose, that adjusts the premium depending on whatever the surcharge is for that particular condition.
So if I vape, that affects the price. If I take gummies once every 3 weekends or once every third weekend.
Well, that's not tobacco, actually. So
I know.
You don't. There's nothing that's asking
no gummy
that
questions
on the medical question. No, there isn't. But you also have to be careful of the exclusions, right? Because there's always an exclusion for alcohol abuse or drug abuse. So if, you had 5 gummies and decided you could fly out your balcony, then yeah, probably not going to happen.
Are you referring to the guy recently who just jumped off a balcony?
Did someone just do that recently? No, that's my going joke. But
yesterday. That's not funny anymore. It happened yesterday.
It happens. It happens. You see.
Okay. So someone says here, did I miss it? There is a student plan for incoming students. So yes, there is. I'll answer that one. Yes, there is a plan for some student coming from a foreign country and wants to stay here for 12 months to go to school or wherever. If I have a TuGo code, can that apply for? Oh, sorry. If I have a TuGo code, can that apply for IA?
So if you are contracted directly through TuGo, and you want to go through IA, then you need to let your current account manager know that you want to get rid of your direct contract, and then you can onboard with IA because you can only have one access to TuGo. So
okay, that's important.
You choose, yeah.
And how quickly am I paid to my account? Like when I sell it, how quickly does it come?
So IA has a different sort of contract. We don't pay agents directly. We pay all commission to IA on a monthly basis, and then IA pays all of their agents. So we pay around the 10th of the month, and then IA does whatever they're doing. And usually, I'm going to guess around the 15th of the 20th or to the 20th is when IA is then going to send the funds out to whoever sold the policy.
Okay, there's a couple of other questions here, but I know you have to go, so I won't hold you here. Listen, folks, again, thank you very much. That was amazing. Again, another great presentation. So
thank you very much, and I'm happy to come back anytime you guys want me.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you, and I'll let you go. So without any further ado, I want to scoot on to Shamara. Shamara Kundari brings over 7 years of dedicated experience in the insurance industry, currently serving as an insurance wholesaler at Manulife. She specializes in health, dental, and travel insurance. Her expertise extends beyond insurance products, encompassing a deep understanding of market trends and regulatory frameworks. Throughout her career, Shamara has built a reputation for her client-centric approach, integrity, commitment to excellence in the service delivery. In her spare time, Shamara loves to spend time with her family, her dog, Mogul. I think that's from a Disney movie, isn't it?
Mowgli, yep.
And attempting to read 52 books this year. Ask her where she's at. Okay, well, where are you at, Shamara?
35.
You gotta get to work.
Yeah. I think I'm 3 behind on my tracker.
All right, great. Well, listen, take it away and enjoy yourself. Everybody's excited about this. Obviously, we still have lots of attendees, and we're getting tons of questions. So, I mean, one of the things about this is that it does create a nice revenue stream for our advisors. You are sharing. Go to the main. That's it. You got it. And it does create an additional revenue stream, and we can put it on our websites if we have a website, and or link travel insurance to our customers, our clients. And if you know they're traveling, step up to the front of the line and offer this service because it's an easy sale, and they're going to you for it as opposed to you having to go out there and sell hard on this particular product.
My name is Shamara, and I'm the wholesaler at Manulife for travel insurance, one of the wholesalers. So I take care of Southwestern Ontario and the Atlantic provinces. So if you're in any of those provinces, I would be your contact for health and dental and travel insurance. And I'm going to focus my presentation today on traveling Canadians and specifically the snowbird market, since that's kind of the time of year that we're in. But we do also offer travel insurance for visitors to Canada, as well as student travel insurance, in addition to our Traveling Canadians products. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of the agenda items that we have today. So I'm just going to introduce the snowbird market, talk about what travel insurance is, the different products that we offer, stability, how to sell, what's next, how to start a claim, common sort of like mistakes that we see, and why choose Manulife. So snowbird season is here, and everything you need to know is basically on this slide. So snowbirds are people who are age 55 and over who are traveling for at least 30 days and up to 6 months, which is approximately 1/3 of our population. Snowbirds are generally older and more likely to have a medical condition or develop one while they're away. So it's very important that they have travel insurance.
We have more than 1 million snowbirds that are planning to travel this season, and 73% of them have indicated that they wouldn't travel without insurance, which is amazing to hear. Whenever I hear somebody say that they think they don't need travel insurance or everything's fine, it always kind of gives me this inward twinge because, an accident can happen to anyone at any time. It doesn't have to be a snowbird, it can be somebody young or old. I just had my friend's son, they traveled down to the States for a soccer tournament in the summer, and their son got pneumonia, and they had to go to a hospital. So, disaster strikes at really any point. You always want to have travel insurance. And as one of the other ladies who was presenting earlier mentioned, like OHIP is not going to be covering your OHIP or your government health insurance isn't going to be covering any out of country. It's a very, very small amount that they're going to cover. Okay, so what is travel insurance? So we're just going to have a quick overview of what that looks like. So essentially, it's financial protection for anything unexpected that may happen either before you leave or while you are actually away. Why do we need it? Unforeseen illness, accidents, financial security, and peace of mind for both you and your family at home. We have two different types of coverage that we offer. So emergency medical insurance, which is anything obviously medical related. So an unexpected emergency illness or accident when you're traveling outside of your home province or outside of your country. And then we have our trip cancellation and interruption coverage, which is for prepaid non-refundable expenses and non-transferable expenses. So if your trip is canceled before you even leave, or if your trip is interrupted while you're there and you have to come back home, those are things that would be covered under trip cancellation and interruption. We also have coverage under our all-inclusive plans for baggage loss, damage, and delay in flight and travel accident. Let's move into our Manulife travel insurance products. So we have single trip options. So that's $10 million in emergency medical coverage with extensions available should you require to stay longer than you plan to. And we can do that as long as your policy hasn't expired and as long as you haven't made a claim. So you can extend while in destination, or if you bought it before and then you decide that you're going to stay a bit longer, you can also do it before you leave. This is out of province protection. So if you're traveling within Canada, it is a bit cheaper because your provincial coverage is going to pay first and we're going to pay second. This coverage is available for singles, couples, families. So we have family coverage as well for emergency medical. And then we have companion discounts and family discounts. We also have the option to apply a deductible to add even further savings. Multi-trips are the next option that we have. So single trip is you're leaving Canada once and coming back once. Multi-trips are purchased for a 1-year time period, same $10 million of emergency medical coverage, but you get to choose the trip duration. So clients would think about what type of travel they're going to be doing. And then they would decide, hey, I need, a 10-day trip duration because I'm going to do like 3 or 4 trips for 10 days at a time, or a 30-day trip duration. I'll give you an example. My sister lives in England and my mom lives here. And so she travels for a month at a time to go visit my sister and her kids. And so she would do well with like a 30-day multi-trip plan. She would probably go 4 times a year. We can do up to 60 days if it's emergency medical. And then we also have top-up coverage available if they're going to be traveling for longer than one of these trip durations. So let's say most of your trips are 10 days, but you have one that's 15. You can buy an extra few days for that particular trip. And so that is for a 1-year time period. So however many, 10-day trips you can jam into a year, that's how many you can do. That the amount of trips you take is not predetermined. It's just the trip duration that's predetermined. And again, available for singles, couples, or families. And then we have those same companion discounts and family savings. Under our single trip and multi-trip options, we have emergency medical, but we also have all-inclusive plans. And those are $10 million of emergency medical, but then they also have, like I mentioned earlier, trip cancellation and interruption, flight and travel accidents, and baggage loss, damage, and delays. So those can also be topped up if you need to. And there aren't deductibles available for all-inclusive plans, but they can be available for families as long as you do each person individually, and we do have those same companion discounts as the other plans. So just to further expand upon the trip cancellation and interruption, this is reimbursement for a trip that was canceled prior to leaving or something that was interrupted due to unexpected illness or injury, that of a family member. A travel advisory was issued for a non-known event, weather or loss of a job are just some of the reasons that you can cancel or interrupt a trip. We have a contract that has the full details of the essentially claimable reasons for a trip cancellation or an interruption. The coverage can be purchased up to 1 year in advance for trip cancellation and interruption, and 6 months in advance for emergency medical plans. We also offer trip cancellation and interruption as a standalone product, so you don't have to buy an emergency medical plan with it. And we can do plans up to $20,000 per person. And then if you have a trip cost of more than that, we have special quoting options. We also have special quoting options if a client wants to travel for more than 365 days a year. We do require your provincial health coverage to be active for the duration of your trip in order to buy one of our plans, which is a common question that we get asked. So if you're going to be traveling for a length of time where your GHIP would expire, you need to work with your province to get an extension before you buy your travel insurance. So like I mentioned, if you are taking a trip that costs more than $20,000 per person, we have a special quoting option available, and all you have to do is contact your wholesaler. There's a special process that we go through in order to have that quoted. You can't do it online, but anything up to $20,000 per person can be quoted online. When you have clients that are not stable, so I think Nancy was talking about, you've had a change in your medication, you've stopped medication, or you've had a visit to a hospital in the 3 to 6 months before you travel, depending on your rate category. We have medically underwritten plans that we can offer to clients instead, where they call in directly to us. They are underwritten over the phone, and then we decide the risk assessment and if we can offer coverage. And it would have a no stability period option. So that's something that you would always want to consider if you're not stable or you've had any type of change in your health history. You are referring the client directly to us in that scenario, so you would get a 10% referral commission for sending them our way, but you're not the servicing advisor in this scenario. It's just another option so that the clients can continue to have coverage. This is the phone number that they would call, and then they'll speak to that underwriter to determine. So they're going to ask, and it is a client calling. Like, we get a lot of advisors asking, like, oh, can I call on behalf of my client? They're going to ask very detailed medical questions that you're not going to know the answers to. So you do want your client to call. You can certainly be on the phone with them, but they call into this number, and then the premium is based on that individual risk. So I've referred to stability, but let's look at it a little bit closer. So stability is a period of time in which a pre-existing condition must be stable for a claim related to that to be covered. So if you're 59 and younger, you're automatically 3 months stability. And then for 60 and over, you do have to answer medical questions. If you answer no to all of them, then you're also considered to be rate category A, which is 3 months. And then if you answer yes to any of the questions, then you would be a rate category B or C, depending on which ones you answered yes to, and that's a 6-month stability period. And then that's just the definition of stable so that you're aware of what's involved in being stable. And so basically anybody who is, 59 and younger, you may have still a condition that's, that you're being treated for. We're just not asking for any medical questions, but you do still have to consider stability. And so once all those conditions that are in this definition here are met, you're considered to be stable. You can go ahead with the normal plan. And if you're not, we look at that medically underwritten plan instead. How to sell So a couple different ways to get to our travel insurance subportal. So you can go into Advisor Portal, and then if you click on the sign in button and then choose travel, it'll open up the subportal for travel insurance. You can also get there from our health and dental subportal as well, or you can just type in it directly. It's manulifetravelinsurance.ca. You will have to log in, and it'll use your Advisor Portal credentials when you log in. You always want to sign in as a best practice, just to ensure that you're able to save your quotes. Because the worst thing is like when you start doing a quote and then you can't save it because you haven't logged in. The other way that you can sell travel insurance with us is we actually have a referral program. So some advisors just don't want to take on either the time to sell travel insurance, or there's like a perceived risk associated with it. So we do offer advisors the option to refer the business away. And that's just, you get a 10% referral fee similar to the medically underwritten plan. You're not the servicing advisor. This is also a really great option if you have clients asking for insurance in a province that you are not licensed in. You can refer it and still get 10%. Otherwise, the commissions range from 15% if they're 65 and over for emergency medical plans, 20% if they're under 60, and then we have 20% for a multi-trip, 35% for visitors to Canada, and 40% for our travel 80 term travel insurance product. So we have varying commissions on travel insurance, kind of depending on how old the client is and which products they're looking at. But if you refer it away, it's just a 10% flat fee. Okay, so now we've sold our travel insurance through one of those avenues. What happens next? Um, we're going to send an email to the clients with a confirmation, and that has their policy number, the confirmation of coverage, the dates that they're traveling, the type of policy they purchased, and a copy of a link to the policy. So they need to review the policy and the confirmation of coverage to make sure that everything is correct. If their plans change at all, they can contact us directly to provide any updates, or advisors can contact broker support on their behalf as well. This is what the email looks like. So you can see it says their policy number there. It's got their a link to the confirmation where they can see the details, and then there's a link to the policy. At the bottom is all of the information to the assistance center if they need to make a claim. Other things that the client needs to know when they're traveling. So we have support and assistance from the time of purchase to, time of claim. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So that's the contact information for our assistance center. And then we also have a map in our Travel Aid mobile app that shows recommended hospitals and service providers based on where the client is, as well as a medical concierge service to kind of triage them to help get them, the right help for the claim, arrange direct billing where at all possible. Like, we're always trying to make sure that the client isn't out of pocket as much as possible. So in order to start a claim with Manulife, you're either going to open up our Travel Aid mobile app, or you're going to call the assistance center. We also have a Find a Doctor feature in our app, so it's very slick. It's very easy to use. You can also send an email to our travel claims website as well. And then we also have an online submission portal as well. So there's lots of different ways, but my recommendation is always, always, always to just call the assistance center first, just to ensure that you're getting the right services that you need. If a client doesn't actually call into us first, then they could be responsible for 20% of the claim. So it's always good to just make sure that you are, getting the right assistance. So we have a few common mistakes that I'd like to review when it comes to purchasing travel insurance so that you can keep an eye out for them and talk to your clients about them. The first is waiting until the client has left the country to purchase. So you do need to purchase this before they leave. The only time that we can sell insurance in destination is if it's a visitors to Canada plan where there's a waiting period, or a student plan, and there would also be a waiting period. But for traveling Canadians, you cannot buy this policy after the client has left Canada. Yeah, they have to buy it before they leave. You can top up another policy once they've left, as long as it hasn't expired. You can extend your policy after they've left, same thing, as long as it hasn't expired or they haven't made a claim. But you can't sell it net new after they have left the country. So like I mentioned, not contacting the assistance center to start a claim, so they can be responsible for 20% of the claim if they don't do that. Um, Non-detailed, know your client information, don't assume. So I think sometimes advisors fall into the trap of thinking that they know their clients really well and they're answering those questions on their behalf and they think they know, but just we say, make sure that the client answers each and every single one of those questions. And if they have any questions, they need to go to their doctor and ask their doctor those questions. Because that's who we're going to go to in the event of a claim to adjudicate that claim. We're going to pull their medical records. So if they have any questions at all, they just need to speak to their doctor and make sure that they're very clear on the questions. Another mistake that I hear with advisors is just not offering travel insurance at all. This is something that everyone needs, and if they're not getting it from you, they're going to get it from somebody else. So they really do need to, like advisors really need to build that fence around their clients to make sure that they're getting the right service. That's the benefit of having an advisor, right? Is like they have a wholesaler to go to make sure that this client understands what they're buying and has all of the information that they need to make an informed decision. Not checking travel advisories, so that we see this a lot with clients. They haven't checked a travel advisory and they're kind of going in blind. You do want to make sure that you're checking advisories because we may have clauses in our policies for exclusions for travel advisors. So you always want to make sure that you visit the Canadian government website and look at the country that you're visiting, the client is visiting, to make sure that they understand that there may be exclusions related to those advisories. And then not paying attention. So just like the client needs to pay attention to their start and end dates. And if they're planning on staying extra time, and this happens with snowbirds where they decide to come home one date and then they're like, actually, I'm going to stay a couple more weeks. The weather's really nice here. We can't extend a policy that has expired, right? So they do need to pay attention if they're thinking about an extension or a top up, because we can't do anything if it's already expired or if there's a claim. So why choose Manulife? So we have a very strong reputation in this industry. We've been selling travel insurance a long time. It's very easy to purchase with us. All of our travel products are available with online quoting, online sales, non-face-to-face. As a client myself, like I don't do anything that I can't do basically, like, sitting from where I am. Like I don't like going places to do anything. We are a very trusted brand. We have no maximum age issue or termination ages for travel insurance on our Traveling Canadians products. So, like a 92-year-old can go and buy this travel insurance. We don't have administration fees on refunds, so you can get a refund on your emergency medical plans if you come back earlier than you expected. Or if you can't go on that trip, you can cancel and get a refund on that, and we don't have an admin fee. We have our standby MD, which is our medical concierge service that helps to triage the client claims in order to ensure they get the very best level of service. We have virtual services as well. We've got that app for initiating your claim. We have hassle-free direct billing as long as you can contact us for the most part. We have very exceptional customer service. And then you have wholesaling support and broker support, at your fingertips. So if you have any questions about the product, you talk to me. If you have any questions from an administrative standpoint, you need a refund, you need to change dates, you can call broker support and they will help with all of that information. We have very strong products. We have very competitive pricing on all of our products. We have lots of different options. If, your client can't get through the medical questions, we have those medically underwritten plans. Like there's, the world is kind of their oyster when it comes to the breadth of our product and the different options that we have to our clients. This is the broker support contact information in case you have any in-force related questions. And this is the phone number for both health and dental and travel insurance. They have a 5-day SLA for their email, but anything urgent, you need a same-day answer, call in and someone will always answer, and they work 8 to 8. So kind of next steps when it comes to, delving into travel insurance. So connect with your affinity wholesaler to discuss the products in further detail. They can provide you with sales ideas, marketing material. We have marketing toolkits in case you want to promote these products. They include copy, like pre-written copy and images, if you want to post about it. So you can use those marketing materials to strategize and level up. Set a goal. If you reach $5,000 in travel premium, you can get a web link put on to put on your website, so it's even easier for you to process sales. And just think big. So think about offering individual and group travel insurance. You can strengthen those client relationships, attract new clients, and then grow your business. Like travel is one of those things that people do refer around in sort of like their little networks. So don't kind of leave money on the table in that situation. Like it is something that's really important. Your clients need it and they're going to get it somewhere. It might as well be from somebody that they trust. Lastly, because I'm your health and dental wholesaler, I will just talk briefly about the fact that we also have referrals for health and dental as well. If it's not something that you don't sell, but you're thinking about it, or your clients are asking, but you don't have time, you can refer it directly to us as well. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much.
So I've got a few questions for you.
Absolutely. Let's go.
The one that has come up a couple of times about this extension of my trip. So I'm traveling in the US, I'm having a great time. I got 14 days. It's like day 10. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking I'll stay a little bit longer. How do I communicate with Manulife to get that extension prior to expiration?
Yeah. So there's a couple of options. So the clients can call into client services and they can do it themselves, or they can call their broker and their broker can call in on their behalf to broker support and do that.
Okay, so no issue prior to expiration, so that's good.
No, as long as there's no claim and it hasn't expired. Yep.
Right. So the next thing I'm thinking, and how quickly does it go? Like if I'm online with them at the call center, client calls me and says, "It's the last day. I've decided to stay. How do I extend my coverage?" Now, in all likelihood, that's not going to happen. That phone call is not going to happen. They're just going to stay longer and not tell me. And then something's going to happen. And then they're going to find out they didn't have coverage because they didn't tell about the extension of the trip.
Yeah.
So that's the second part of my question. But how quickly can you put the policy additional days in force? Same day?
Same day for an extension.
Right.
But I would give them more than a couple of days just to make sure, err on the side of caution. When it's a top up though, so let's say you have a group plan, and you have 30 days with your group plan and you're like, oh, I'd really like to stay a few more days, but you need to top that up. So top up is different than extension. Extension is like an existing Manulife policy that we're just moving forward, right?
Right.
A top up is when you have coverage from somewhere else and
Yep.
you want to add more on, right?
Right.
So top up, we require more time. We need a few days because they're going to have to answer medical questions with top up coverage. And we require signatures if they're already in destination. So we're going to need a couple days to do paperwork with top up. So I would give yourselves more time in that one.
Okay. So the second thing that scares me a little bit is that I put it on my website because I did my $5,000 production. It's on my website now. My client goes to the website, buys coverage because he is taking a trip. What notification do I get that that client purchased coverage?
You'll get an email.
I'll get an email?
Mm-hmm.
And is it right away? Like it's as soon as they do it, it's immediate that I get an email. Bob Smith is taking a trip and he's bought coverage from us and just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, that's good because then I would know that, he's away for two. I'd call my client obviously and say, oh, I understand you're going to Czechoslovakia or wherever, not Prague, but necessarily, but let's say, and you make sure that they know, they understand the coverage and all those kinds of things. The next question I had, so I'll get a notification that they've traveled. Oh, you have basic, standard, and enhanced. So is it my understanding that I can sell standard and enhanced, but I can't sell basic?
That sounds like it's referring to something different.
So can I sell the coverage with no dental coverage?
Oh, that's health and dental.
Right.
Someone's asking a health and dental.
Oh, sorry, not travel, health and dental.
You can sell all three.
I can sell all three.
Oh, I think I know what this is referring to.
Okay.
So we have travel products available
Yeah.
client direct on our
Right.
Cover Me website.
Right.
And for visitors to Canada Insurance,
Yeah.
there's a basic plan, a standard plan, and an enhanced plan. But
Right.
those are not the same plans that we offer on the broker side right now. It is
Okay.
coming. So I think that's probably what that's referring to. So we do
Yes.
have different products on from the broker channel to the client direct channel right now.
When is that change going to be made?
Imminent, like in the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your answer. And I
Mhm.
see there was no misunderstanding. That's what we were taught. That's what he was
Yeah.
asking, and make sure that we have the right answer to the right question. So
Yep.
that's excellent. Okay, good to know
Mhm.
that. We'll keep an eye out for that change. When will we be notified of that change?
When it's launched,
Okay.
or when it's about to launch. So right now, so they've launched it on the Cover Me website. Now they're working on travel agency, and then broker is next. So
Okay.
kind of like it's like good news, bad news. It's a little bit annoying to have two different sets of products right now because usually Cover Me and broker are the same, with broker usually having a couple more options.
Mhm.
But the pro in it launching on those two channels first is they're going to work out all the kinks, and by the time it gets to broker, it's going to be pristine. So
Okay. So that's the answer to that question. I'm just
yeah,
seeing he's responding now to the answers to the question and then
gotcha.
clarifying it. So we will send out an email that the change has been made and that effective
Yeah.
whatever date, the advisor is able to sell the basic.
Yeah. And
So
you'll
that's
see, like, we're gonna have a whole new travel website.
okay.
Like all of our travel products are actually gonna be changing. So,
Okay, good.
but that,
I mean, I
yeah,
can see this is exploding as a market because it's something that we really hadn't thought of. I mean, I know we've had access to these products for a long time through the affinity marketing program, but we don't really focus on it as we have today. And I think moving forward, we'll put more focus on this because I am concerned a little bit about the medical questions and the E&O situations that it might create. So we've got to clarify a few things.
Mhm.
I got an interesting question for you here, though. Aside from all of that, we're seeing a lot of just because we just finished the Olympics recently, we've had people training outside the country. So kids are going over to Switzerland or wherever to learn better how to snowboard. Sorry. Um, how does that, like, are they covered under, if they go to somewhere and they're going towards the Olympics and they want to get coverage for that child studying somewhere else, that coverage is available, correct?
That coverage is available. So we'll cover them as long as they're not being paid, right?
Right.
And then as long as it's not extreme. So we do have an exclusion for extreme sports.
Yes.
But yeah, like if they're going for gymnastics or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, there's equestrian, there's
Yep.
lots of
Yep.
accidents in equestrian, so
Yeah.
they cover you for equestrian,
Hmm.
those kinds of things. So again, that would be in the contract. We should be careful of what we were doing in the contract.
Yeah.
The other interesting one that came up, I got caught in this just recently, obviously flying out to BC. I was all scheduled for Air Canada. And then I decided at the last minute to get off of Air Canada, change my flight because it looked like they were going to go on strike. But let's say I'm flying back and I'm not on WestJet, but let's say it's WestJet. WestJet or the Air Canada, they don't ratify the agreement of Air Canada. They decide to go on strike. They cancel all the flights. Is my trip cancellation covered for that?
It depends on when. So,
Okay. Well,
because
let's say it's Sunday night, just this past Sunday, and I'm on Air Canada and I'm going to come out to BC, and I changed it because I was afraid of potential strike. But let's say I didn't change it. I get up Monday morning and they decided to strike.
Okay, so that airline strike was considered at a certain point to be a known event.
Okay.
So,
Wow. When?
yeah. So when
I bought the tickets 2 months earlier.
yeah. Yeah, so it depends. So I don't actually know the exact date of when it was declared a known event, but there is an
Okay.
exact date that it was declared a known event. So if
Right.
it's after that, like if you bought your tickets after it was declared a known event, then
Right.
that's on you.
Right.
But if things happened before it was declared a known event, then yes, because it's like insurance is sudden and unforeseen, right? So I believe it was August.
It was
I want to
August
say,
22nd, actually. I'm getting the answers in this email right
yeah,
away because
okay,
people aren't paying
yeah,
attention to this, right?
yeah. Yeah, so I was thinking the 26th, but I will trust you on 22nd. Yeah, so anything before that, yes. Anything after that, no.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So
All
same
right.
thing with the COVID pandemic. It was
Yeah.
declared a known event on a certain day, March was March 19th. I think it was declared a known event. So
Yes.
anybody that chose to travel after that, you were on your own, right? Because you were traveling knowing that this was a possibility until the pandemic travel plan came in. So you always have to pay attention to that known event, right? Like if I book something now and 6 months from now something happens, yeah, I'm covered because I didn't know that.
And I'll ask you another, because we always like exceptions here at IDC and for our advisors. I don't today have the $5,000 of commissions paid or travel insurance premium. Is it premium or commissions?
Premium.
So premium. So let's say I don't have $5,000 of premium, but I want very badly to put this on my website because I've got 500 clients that do a lot of traveling and I want to put it on my website. Is there an exception to getting that link to my website before the $5,000 premium hit?
We can sometimes make exceptions if you commit to selling $5,000 in premium within a certain timeline of getting the link.
Okay. So I might have past history in travel insurance, just not through this scenario. And I've decided, I'm going to refocus my attention to going through IDC and doing it on, the Manulife site. And I want to get that link in preparation for that eventuality, right? Okay.
Yep.
That's great. And is there any cost difference to my client by buying it directly with Manulife on their website or buying it through the agent?
Okay. So, yes and no. So if we're talking about right this second, yeah, there's a cost difference because the products are different. But generally speaking, so let's say when the products were exactly the same when they were, or in future state when they are going to be the same, there will be no difference in the cost between Cover Me and what a broker sells, with the added value, of course, of having a broker to advise you.
Yeah, exactly.
But today, yes, there is, because they're just different products. It's not apples to apples.
Right. It's much more advantageous to go through an advisor who actually knows this market and can advise them correctly, as opposed to them going online and buying something, again, where they think they have a particular coverage but don't. I mean, we don't want that happening to our clients because that's just not what we do. All right. Listen, this has been fantastic. Still, majority of the people are still on the webinar here. Need to separate understanding of trip cancellation and trip interruption. So can you explain the difference between trip interruption and trip cancellation?
Yeah, so trip cancellation is before you go. You're canceling your trip before you leave the country, and trip interruption is something happens while you're on your trip that's interrupting it.
Yeah. Like let's say I had bought my tickets and I decided to expedite my trip. I could have flown out. I mean, I could have taken the chance and flown out Sunday. The strike wouldn't have been until Tuesday, supposedly anyway, although they were making arrangements to rearrange flights and start canceling flights because they don't want them landed and stuck in Abbotsford or someplace. But I decided to throw the dice, keep the ticket, take the trip. And then on Sunday, they didn't ratify. And on Tuesday, they have the strike. That would be trip interruption.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I would be covered. Because I bought the ticket prior to August 22nd, and then I would be covered under your plan. All right. Yes, I know your references, the Air Canada strike. I got you. I'm living that moment right now. So listen, again, like I said, fantastic webinar, very interesting. A lot more to travel insurance than I ever thought possible, and I'm sure that others are feeling the same way here on the call. We definitely will follow this up. I think there's some real opportunity here to go through a few more things in terms of filling out the paperwork, the underwriting, and those kinds of things. So look for us to give you a call to set something else.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shamira. Thanks very much. Other than that, have a great day. Thanks for participating and thanks for staying on for the whole webinar. This is recorded. We'll have it available in a few weeks at our website. All questions will be answered and sent out to you after we've gone through them. And have a great day. Safe travels if you're traveling. And remember, travel insured. Talk to you later.